Welcome to the Football Show on PLZ Soccer, sponsored by Arnold Clark. I'm Gabriel Antoniazzi. Tam McManus, Alison McConnell and Alan Ruff joining me today. Good afternoon to all three of you and good afternoon to everyone at home. Thank you very much for joining us. Don't forget to like and comment on the feed and we'll try and read out as many of the posts as we can. Any questions, anything you'd like to know, let us know and I'll pose it to the panel. It's Monday, so we've got all of the weekend's action to get through. A win for Rangers, Kilmarnock, Aberdeen, but we're starting with Celtic, the champions, beating Hibs 3-0 yesterday. Tam, you were commenting on the game. Neil Lennon said afterwards it was the best Celtic have played all season. Do you agree with him?
Second half, Gabs, yes. I watched the game, obviously for Hibs TV. In first half, I don't think there was much in the game at all. I don't think Celtic were that great. They got 2 goals. Callum McGregor, 5 minutes into the game. Listen, I think it's pure defending from Hibs. He's got too much space at the edge of the box. He takes 2 and 3 touches and then puts it in the bottom corner. So I think that was a goal that could have been avoided from Hibs' point of view. And the second goal, again, Elyounoussi is in the box. He takes 3 or 4 touches and then pokes it towards the goal. And Marciano's been outstanding this season for Hibs, but I feel as if he could have pushed it wider. He pushed it straight into the path of Ajeti, who obviously tapped it in. And Hibs had a couple of chances. I thought Nisbet gave Shane Duffy a lot of problems the first half, and second half Celtic turned it up. I think that Turnbull coming on was a huge thing for Celtic. I thought he was outstanding. He showed he belonged in a Celtic jersey. I thought he looked very sharp, and Celtic moved the ball quicker, 1 and 2 touch, and Hibs couldn't get near them. It was 3-0. It could have been 5 or 6, to be honest. Marciano had a couple of good saves, but Celtic were very, very good in the second half, and the best they've played. I would agree with Neil Lennon. The best I've seen Celtic in that second half yesterday. So it was a deserved victory.
High praise from you, Tam. All the regulars tuning in. Niall Kane, Una Brennan, Kathleen Madden. Hi to all of you. Get your questions in. Alison, did you see the game? What did you make of it if you did?
Yeah, I watched the stream. I thought Celtic, I would agree with Tam, I thought they were very good in the second half. And I thought Frimpong was excellent. I thought he came on and his pace just gave Doig so many problems down that flank. But I also think that it would have done David Turnbull the world of good to come in and make an impression like that and just start off on a very positive footing, because I think sometimes if you find your feet quickly, then you tend to bed in and gel with some alacrity going forward. So I think it's really important from that perspective. But from Celtic's point of view, I think they'll just be relieved to start showing a bit of fluency, a bit of creativity, start scoring goals, and just hinting that they're starting to get back to close to their best form. I think it's been a bit stop-start since the season began, and I think once you start to find your fluency, then you would expect them to kick on in terms of performances and just the manner of the level and of the displays that they've been putting in.
Yeah, plenty more people tuning in. Hi to all of you. So much to talk about, especially just on the Celtic game. But let's first of all hear from the manager, Neil Lennon.
Yeah, 10 out of 10. Best of the season. And one of the best in my time as manager, first and second time. Thought we were outstanding. I thought the football we played was brilliant. The control of the game was brilliant. And, we defended when we had to really well. It was just an outstanding all-round team performance.
And very high praise from Neil Lennon. One comment here from Brian Curtis. Tam, let's be honest, tuned into your commentary, a little bit one-sided, needs a bit more work. So it's a nice stick for you on a Monday, Tam. A bit of Hibs bias. Anything to say to that?
Well, I'm working for Hibs TV. I've got to be a sort of bias, but I feel as if I was fairly fair for both sides when Celtic, especially the second half, deserved to win the game, and there was no doubt about it that the best team of the day was Celtic. But I've got to stick and give Hibs a bit of praise when it's due as well.
Yeah, Roughie, what do you think about those comments from Neil Lennon saying that it's one of the best performances across his 2 spells as manager? Is that a bit over the top?
Yeah, I think as Alison and Tam said there, if he's saying 10 out of 10, it was for the second half performance. It certainly wasn't for the first half. I thought Hibs had a few chances. I thought, again, that back three looked a bit vulnerable. Obviously, Duffy getting caught out a couple of times. But apart from that, the second half, you have to say that they were impressive. Obviously, they were a few goals up by then. And you saw, if you give Celtic a lot of time on the ball, certain players will hurt you. But it was a mini test for Celtic on Saturday, obviously. Not a great performance in midweek in Europe, and people would have thought, well, maybe this is a game that might be a wee stumbling block. But again, they stepped up to the mark, and again, the players on the bench, whenever they came on, they stepped up to it as well. So, it was a very, very, very good result, but I don't agree with the 10 out of 10.
No, I think that might be a bit exaggerated, but a good win nonetheless. What are you're talking about those subs, Roughie? Let's talk about Turnbull then. Alison said that he'd be very pleased with his second half performance. Has he got scope to push perhaps a Scott Brown or a Ryan Christie out the team with performances like that?
Yeah, that's the dilemma that Neil Lennon's got. I mean, it's a fantastic dilemma. Where do you fit him in? And you have to say McGregor and Christie have been absolutely superb. Obviously, Scott Brown was coming under a wee bit of criticism for not being up to speed in the games, saying that he's maybe played too many games and he needs to be rested. So the big question for Neil Lennon is, where does he see Turnbull fitting in that Celtic midfield? Which of these three is he going to spare? It might be the case that Scott Brown will be rested, but as we know, Scott Brown doesn't want to be rested. Scott Brown wants to play in every game possible. So it's a very, very good dilemma as a manager, when you've got a player of that quality, but you still have to fit him in if you want to give him regular games.
Yeah, Scott Brown, the talking point as ever, he was very, very good in the second half. The Celtic captain was talking to us yesterday. High praise for man of the match, Jeremy Frimpong.
He's fantastic. He's got a great attitude as well. He's willing to learn. He's in meetings and with the gaffer and the backroom staff as well, and he's wanting to always get better. But his energy going forward and his ability is next to none. He's one of the quickest I've seen, and he's got that composure with the ball as well.
Tam, it's two man of the matches in a row for Frimpong since he returned to the lineup. This 3-5-2 formation just seems to suit him. He almost plays as a right winger in a 4-3-3, the way he just bombs on. And he gave Dyer a torrid time at left back yesterday, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. Young Josh Dyer has done very well since coming into the Hibs team. He's only a young kid, but it was his biggest test yesterday, and Frimpong gave him a bit of a down in the first half, if I'm being honest. He was going down the outside of him. I kept thinking to Josh, show him inside, but he kept showing him the outside, and Frimpong was too quick for him. He just knocked it by him a couple of times, got to the byline and put crosses across. But Frimpong was definitely the best player on the park for Celtic yesterday, particularly in the first half. I thought he was the main outlet for Celtic down that right-hand side. A little bit quiet in the second half, and Lewis Stevenson come on, who's obviously a bit more experienced and was showing him more inside into bodies. So, no, I agree with Scott Brown. I think he's an excellent young player. And in terms of Scott Brown as well, I think that's the best I've seen Bruni yesterday as well. I thought he controlled the game from start to finish in the middle of the park from Celtic. So I think, people saying that he's finished at Celtic and different things on social media. I think if you watched the game yesterday, he's far from finished. I thought he was excellent for Celtic and controlled the game and pushed them forward and let the likes of Turnbull and McGregor go and push on and go and cause havoc. So no, Celtic were very good just the second half.
Yeah, plenty of impressive individual performances. John Anderson here. Craig Taylor's coming for some stick, but I thought he gave a great effort on Sunday. Taylor was, another good performance from him on the left. A player that usually plays out wide in his 3-5-2 who will be missing for a while, James Forrest. Alison, he could miss Scotland games, the upcoming qualifiers with Israel, with his bone bruising on his ankles. A huge miss for Steve Clarke.
I think he's one of the most underappreciated players for both Celtic and Scotland. I think if you look at James Forrest's stats, they're particularly impressive over the last decade, over the last 12 years. And I think when you take him out of the team, you'll miss that creativity, his assists, his goals. I think he's the last Celtic player to score a hat-trick for Scotland for, I think it was like 1912 or something like that. You would have to go back to. He's a very underrated talent for me, and I think he'll be a miss for both club and country over the coming weeks. Obviously, I think Celtic would have wanted him in there for the game on Thursday night against Sarajevo as they look to get into the Europa League and consolidate that European place. So, yep, I don't think anyone would want to have him out the team. You want as many bodies available as possible for you.
Yeah, it will be a big miss for Celtic and Scotland, but thankfully for the Hoops, they've got Frimpong who can fill in really easily on that right-hand side, Roughie.
Yes. I don't have a problem with Frimpong going forward. It's defensively, I think he's got a lot to learn. He's only a young lad. And any big team would definitely put somebody out on that side of the park to push him back rather than him coming forward so freely, but that's the manager's decision to play that kind of formation. But going forward, he's absolutely superb. I think we all forget how young he is, and just enjoy watching him. He's just a breath of fresh air, the way he gets forward, the way he links up, and he's been absolutely super.
Andrew Townsley says Turnbull looks a class act. He'll be hoping to get many more minutes. Just finally, on Celtic, let's talk about the strikers. Odsonne Edouard dropped again. He's really not been himself this past month. Obviously, the transfer deadline is looming. That's next Monday. So if anything was to materialise, it'll have to be the next 7 days. Tam, what are your views on the Edouard situation at the moment?
Listen, he came on early doors yesterday. I think Ajeti picked up an injury when he scored the goal, and Edouard came on after maybe half an hour, 35 minutes, and thought he showed some nice touches. But again, quietish game, second half. And I just think as soon as the window closes, you'll see a different player. And I don't think it's a lad. I think it's maybe his agents in the background, maybe filling his head with nonsense and saying, "I've got you this move and that move, and this club's interested, and they're going to give you this and give you that." And I just feel as if once this window closes, I think it's on the 5th of October, then I think you'll see a different player. He'll get his head down, he'll be focused, and he'll just want to play well. So, yeah, I just feel as if it's probably the background. I don't think it's the lad himself. And that's, I spoke to a few people at Celtic, and it seems to be that it's the agents in the background. And we were speaking to Alison before the show, and he's maybe looking at changing agents. I don't know if that's, in the pipeline as well. So I just feel off the park, there's a wee bit of, confusion and a wee bit of, people filling his head full of stuff. And once the window closes, I think you'll see a different Edouard. He'll be focused and he'll get back to his best at Celtic.
Alison, anything to add on that?
I would agree. I think if the window comes and goes and he's still there, I think Celtic will breathe a huge sigh of relief. I think he's a player that they would rather have in their ranks as they go through this campaign, looking to get to the 10 and looking to make an impact in European football. And there's absolutely no question that they're a better team with Edouard in it than without. But right now you need to have him focused, you need to have him back on form, you need to have him back looking interested and giving his best again. And I think there has been a distraction over the last few weeks. I don't think there's any question of that. I mean, we've all seen how this plays out generally time and time again, and I think if the window closes and he's still there, then he knows he has to get his head down, because it's in his best interest and it's in the club's best interest that he goes and performs. I think the last week or so might be quite intense. We don't know what's going on behind the scenes, and his agents tend to play their cards very close to their chest. So whatever has been said privately between him and the club and between him and his representatives tends to stay there. But what we are seeing is that he certainly hasn't looked the same player as he was latterly at Celtic in the last few months of the last campaign. And I think Neil Lennon will be relieved if it closes and he can just get on with concentrating on his football without all the distractions going on round about him.
Just quickly, one word answer, Alison. Do you expect him to still be here in a week's time?
Yes.
There we go. Cleared up then. All Celtic fans will be hoping that's true. We've got to just say a little bit more on Hibs. Jack Ross, after the game, was speaking to Peter, who was at Parkhead, and he said that despite the disappointing result, he was very pleased with the first half display. Here he is.
We were at incredibly hard venue in terms of Celtic's domestic record, but first half I thought we were really good, and it sounds strange because we find ourselves 2-0 down, but the amount of openings we created in the first half and how we played was really encouraging. My changes mean that we give up a bit of control second half and try to chase a goal, and that becomes difficult for the players. So there's things that we could have done better in the second half, but I take responsibility in that side of it. As I said, in the first half, a lot of pleasing things from us.
Yeah, Tam, see you nodding away there. Kevin Nisbet was a thorn in Duffy's side in that first half. You agree that they could have maybe got something if they'd have got a goal in the first 45? It could have been a different game?
Yes, I feel as if Hibs did play pretty well the first half. But I think they had 10 attempts at goal, none on target. So it showed you, they were snatching at things. Christian Doidge took a touch and a turning hit over the bar. I thought Nisbet gave Duffy nosebleeds in the first half. He was too quick for him. He shoved him on his backside one of the times and went through and goal as well. But again, the finishing over the bar, slashing at things, and Hibs just never that composure and that quality in the final third, which they have had, to be honest, over the last 6 or 7 games. They've been clinical in front of goal, but I think when you get into 2-0 at half time, Jack's right. You've got to try and chase the game. You've got to try and get the next goal. When you do that, you open up, and it was always going to leave a lot of spaces for Celtic in the second half, and Celtic exploited it. And as I said, 3-0, maybe flattered Hibs at the end. Celtic could have scored 2 or 3 in the second half, but Hibs' bread and butter is finishing third in the league. And you had a great performance the week before against Rangers. Not so good yesterday, but Hamilton Accies on Friday night, and then Ross County away would complete the first round of games. And if Hibs can win both those games, they'll be sitting in a great position. Because the third place, I know people don't like to hear this, but third place is the best that Hibs can finish this season without a doubt. And if they can finish third, then they've won their own little mini league.
Yeah, there's no doubt that that's the target. When I've spoken to Jack Ross this season, he is openly admitting that is what they're going for, third place. But Roughie, is it a concern for Hibs fans out there that they are beating the smaller teams, but Jack Ross hasn't really delivered that big performance in the big game yet? They did get a draw against Rangers last weekend, but there's no real standout result when you think of Ross's reign so far.
No, but I think the performances, as Tam said, this year will be, he'll accept that. I think they went up a wee level for last year. They are more consistent. I don't think for a minute they would expect to go to Parkhead at any time and get a win. You would expect a good performance, and I think he saw a wee bit of that at the weekend. But no, I think the result against Rangers was positive, and as Tam said, the next game's coming up. You could rack up a few points. You could maybe try and draw away for Aberdeen. But no, I think on whole, if there was Hibs supporters being allowed into games, I think at this moment in time, they'd be happy with what they're seeing. They're seeing a free-flowing attacking team who are creating lots and lots of chances. And defensively, they've tidied up a wee bit. I think there's still a lot to improve there. And Tam keeps going on about Marciano, but as you know, I'm not a big fan. Somebody needs to tell him that he can actually catch the ball instead of just pushing it away and pushing it anywhere. Did you see the size of the gloves he wears? Next time you see him, have a look at the size of the gloves he wears.
His gloves are too big.
He's got a problem. He can't feel his fingers.
He might have big hands, Roughie.
Honestly, these gloves are 3 times above the size, regulation size. Have a look the next time.
Yeah, right, Tam, you tell him that from Roughie, your gloves are too big.
Right.
No, right, okay, that's enough. That's enough.
Yeah, it's like the big foam gloves you get at the WWF, the wrestling.
That's it. They're not far away from
that. Oh, right, let's move on. We're going to have a look at all of the results from over the weekend. 3 games on Saturday, 3 games on Sunday. We can have a look at them now. So Hamilton 1-1 with Dundee United. Livingston off the foot of the table with that victory against St Johnstone. St Mirren, 5 losses in a row against Kilmarnock. Motherwell against Rangers, a 5-1 victory for the top of the table team. Celtic, of course, and a 3-0 win for Aberdeen up in the Highlands. But let's move on to Rangers then. Game that I was at yesterday at Fir Park. Fantastic victory for Steven Gerrard's men. 5-1 away to Motherwell, who are no mugs. 2 penalties from James Tavernier, a very impressive goal from Jordan Jones, who was back in from the cold, and then 2 strikes from substitute Cedric Itten. Alison, what did you make of the game? 5-1 was a big win, and it could have been more, to be honest.
I thought it was a very comprehensive win for Rangers, and I think you can't underestimate this season the psychological edge that you're going to have if you're playing either before or after your rival. So I think they went out and set the tone. Celtic had kicked a ball before Hibs. They knew that Rangers had won their game at Fir Park, and I think it was a fairly comfortable afternoon in a ground where Motherwell have made problems for Rangers before, but I don't think there could be any question marks at all over the 3 points. I know there were a bit of chat about the 2 penalties. But I think the performance over the entirety of the 90 minutes was comfortable for Rangers. I don't think there was any question really or any dubiety about the fact they were leaving with the win.
Roughie, is that a statement victory?
I think it is. I think they've been very impressive. Obviously, the European result was something they could thrive on, and they've took it onto that game. The bit I noticed more than anything, I know Alison was talking about the game where I had a look at the Rangers bench. And that bench was never ever as strong as what it was at the weekend. there was some impressive people sitting on that bench, and I think Rangers at this moment in time really do believe that they're going places. I know the Rangers Celtic game is on the 17th, but if Rangers were to go into that game, say midweek at the end of this week, they would think they're favourites for that, the way that they're playing, and I don't think a lot of people would disagree with that.
You'd have Rangers as favourites if the Old Firm was tomorrow?
At this precise moment, but the way the Celtic defence is just now, obviously there's a wee while to go, but if it was right now, I would think Rangers, with the players at their disposal, would think they could get at Celtic's defence as it is just now.
Very, very interesting. Let's hear your thoughts on that at home. Send your comments in. Are Rangers currently favourites against Celtic with the players at their disposal? And don't forget, Joe Aribo, Ryan Jack, Kemar Roof, all injured as well. 3 players that would potentially start for Steven Gerrard's men. Someone else that did start, Jordan Jones. I couldn't believe the team sheet when I saw it. It was his first league start in 399 days. He was impressive on the wing, scored a fantastic goal, showing his pace, leaving Ricky Lamy in his wake. And Steven Gerrard was impressed with his performance.
I had a feeling Jordan was going to play well because he was in a good place when he came on Thursday. And that's Jordan Jones. That's the Jordan Jones that I want to see. I won't accept nothing less than that because they're his attributes. And if he brings them to the table, he's going to be a big help to us.
Sounds a bit like he was in a helicopter there, but I can promise you he wasn't. Tam, what are your thoughts on Jordan Jones?
I thought he was excellent yesterday. I only seen the first half. I was obviously on my way to the Celtic Hibs game, but I thought he was excellent. I don't think he's hit the heights so far at Rangers. He came in from Kilmarnock. I feel as if he was a squad player, come in now and again, but I think he's got to have more belief in himself. I think he's a good footballer. I think he's got great attributes, as Steven Gerrard mentioned there. He's quick, he's direct, and he can finish. And if he plays the way he played against Motherwell, he'll get himself in the team. There's so much competition for places at Rangers. You've got to come in when you get an opportunity, like Jordan Jones yesterday, and take your chance, and he did. So you would expect him to keep his place after that performance and goal in the next game. So it's up to him. Steven Gerrard said he won't accept anything less than that level of performance. So he's set the bar, and if he goes under it, he won't play. If he keeps that standard up, then he'll keep himself in the team.
Yeah, I think it brings a real balance, especially with him and Kent out wide. A few comments here. Stephen Nicol, refreshing honesty from Roughie. I agree. Scott Craney, yes. A few others. Sean Russell, Rangers had first team starters out and still won. I agree with Roughie. There you go, Roughie. Popular today, you are. What else have we got on Rangers then? Arfield impressed against...
Just wait 10 minutes. Give it a chance.
Wait until you say something else. Arfield impressed again, Alison, as did Cedric Eaton coming off the bench. He only played 22 minutes, but he scored 2 goals. Is he putting pressure on Morelos for that starting berth?
Of course he is, and that's what you want as a manager. You want players, when they're given their opportunity, to go and ask questions and give you a problem when it comes to selection for the next week. Let's be honest, I think if Morelos is fit and available and the window closes next week and he's still there, he has a jersey, he'll be a first choice starter. But every team needs competition. You want players looking over their shoulder and feeding for their starting place because it inspires the best kind of form. So yeah, I think you'll be pleased. It's a kind of headache that all managers claim to enjoy when you're bringing people into the fold and they're making a contribution.
Yeah, very impressive, and Rangers seem to have goals coming from everywhere, which is a real benefit for them. Just a few thoughts on Motherwell. Tough for them. 4 games in 10 days, 2 of them away in the Europa League. Up to Pittodrie, who impressively won 3-0. But then it just seemed a step too far for them. That's certainly what Stephen Robinson told me when I spoke to him yesterday.
It was. I mean, we've had a penalty shootout, extra time against Kilmarnock. We've then faced Aberdeen. You face a Europa League side, and then you face Rangers. So it was. Yeah, it's a step too far for us. We don't have a squad equipped to deal with us. I'm using the same players relatively. 12, 13 players for every game, and it's a lesson for us. But I just think we look absolutely jaded today.
Tam, do you agree with those comments? Just too much for them at the moment, where they've got quite a small squad, a few injuries as well?
Yeah, I think I'd agree with Stephen. They've had a lot of tough games, as he mentioned, extra time against Kilmarnock and with 10 men, and going up to Aberdeen, great result, travelling over to Israel, playing against a good side, and then face a Rangers team in flying form. I was really impressed with Rangers at Easter Road the week before, and they've got, as Roughie said, they've got goals coming all over the place. They're scoring a lot of goals at the minute. 4 midweek, 5 again yesterday, and they're very tough to handle. And I think Motherwell will obviously play a lot better. And some of the decisions, I thought, listen, the handball rule, when we speak about it, the handball rule is what it is. It's by the letter of the law, it's penalty kicks. Yes, it's harsh. But if the ball hits your hand in the box now, 9 times out of 10, it's going to be a penalty kick. But I thought Alan Campbell could have had one in the first half with a wee nudge. I think anywhere else in the pitch, it's a foul. So they never got the little breaks that they probably needed to get a result against Celtic and Rangers. But Rangers ran out very deserving winners. They could have won by more, to be honest. But Motherwell, again, not judged on games against Rangers and Celtic. They'll be looking to push up the table and get in that top 6 and then try and get in that top 4 again.
Mm-hmm. Top 6, certainly their aim at minimum. Alison, on Motherwell, something that concerns me, I don't know if I want to know if it concerns you as well, is when the goals don't come and they're struggling, I just feel like they won't have enough going forward. They play this 5-3-2 formation where it's essentially just the 2 strikers isolated up front, whether it's Watt, Lang, Long or White. I just I don't think any of those strikers can deliver 15, 20 goals a season. What do you think about Motherwell's striking situation?
I think Watt is capable of that, to be honest with you. I think he could, with the right service, I think Watt, if he finds a home, if he feels comfortable, I think he's got the talent, I think he has the ability. I think he could be hitting the 15 goals a season, but I understand what you're saying about when the goals don't come. But I think that there's enough creativity, there's a bit of pace on both flanks. I think if you can service and get balls into the box, I don't think that goals will be as much as a problem for them. I think that the big question is, can you keep them out at the back and maintain a level of consistency? But to be honest with you, I think when you look throughout domestic results after a midweek European performance, so many teams who compete on the continent on a Wednesday night or a Thursday night then go into domestic football and drop points. And I think what you saw at the weekend was a Motherwell team who just looked exhausted. I didn't think they had much about them. I didn't think it was a fair reflection of many of the performances that we've seen to date this term. I think they'll be all right, and I think they'll be a top 6 comfortable finish this season.
Yeah, they'll be hoping for that. And I suppose the silver lining with getting knocked out of Europe is that they won't have any more of those European hangovers from long trips back. Tam touched on it. Roughie, I want your thoughts on the penalties. Both of them, by the letter of the law, were penalties. Do you agree with it? Do you agree with the law? If it touches your hand in the box, it's a spot kick?
No, I don't agree with the rule at all. I think it's absolutely ridiculous. I've been watching the television all morning. Obviously, England is getting the brunt of it as well. They had a few at the weekend as well. And then listening to all managers, they want something done about it. I think they're going to take it to a higher source. They can't do anything this year, but I think they want something in place next year that is ratified and it's changed in some way, because some of the penalty decisions at the weekend, it must be soul destroying if you're on the park and you're playing particularly well, and then all of a sudden you get something like that against you, and there's nothing you can do about it. So no, I can't for my life of me why we went from deliberate handball to this. I think everybody can get their head round if somebody sticks their hand out to stop the ball going across the goal or in the goal or whatever. We all would do that. But I mean, the one I'm trying to particularly think about is the Spurs one at the weekend. How you can give a penalty for somebody heading the ball with your back to the game and it's hitting his hand. I mean, that is just ridiculous. But as the referee were saying, they have to apply the law as it is. It's not their fault. It's a rule that's in there, but it's a rule that really needs to be changed and changed quickly.
Yeah, they just made that blanket rule to remove the grey area, whether it's deliberate or not. If it hits your arm, it's a penalty. Tam, as a former forward, do you think if that was the rule when you were playing, you would start approaching the tactic of, listen, let's just smash the ball about the box, we'll get a ricochet, we could get a penalty. Can I flick it up and hit someone's arm? Well, honestly, that's what people are starting to be concerned about.
It's hard to do that for the bench, Gabs, but I agree with you. It's something that... I mean, if you're 1-0 down...
It's even harder when you're up in the stand.
Right, Roughie. It's one of the ones. If you're 1-0 down in the last 5 minutes of the game and you're in the box, you will find people starting to do this. Strikers or whoever it is, fire the ball at somebody's hand. Because you might get a penalty kick. If you're wide and you're trying to cross a ball and aim for his hand, it's ridiculous. As Roughie said, the rules are a shambles. Some of the penalty kicks that have been given are just it's soul destroying. It's just horrendous for supporters watching it, for managers, for players. They've got to change the rule. Obviously, they can't do it this season, but I actually was down doing the A licence at Orium, and Steve McLean came in, and it was the beginning of last season, I think, that these rules came in, and at the end of his little talk about the deliberate handballs, he says, "Does anybody get any questions?" And I think 85 people put their hand up. He was inundated with questions about the handball rule, because there's so many things that can, if it hits your hand, what happens if it's, if it's an attacking player hitting it? It's a penalty kick. Stephen was adamant it's a penalty. It's not, we are not putting these rules in place as the powers that be. So it's got to get changed, because it's ruining the game.
Yep. Norman Hedgley says 100% Roughie, the game's getting ruined with daft refereeing decisions. Roughie, everything you're saying today is spot on. I want to hear your thoughts on Aberdeen versus Ross County then. 3-0 win for the Dons in Dingwall. They continue their impressive record on the road. Roughie, what are your thoughts on that? I'm sure it'll be correct.
Oh, I was impressed with Aberdeen. They're my team, particularly against one of my favourite teams, Ross County. I'm going down.
He's desperate.
It was an impressive performance for Aberdeen. I thought the young boy McRorie was super. He looks a power in that midfield. He looks as if he's come on leaps and bounds, and what a signing he's been. And I think Tam mentioned it. I'm sure that Rangers might be regretting this a year or two down the line, because this boy is going to be a player. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, his midfield partner in there as well, Lewis Ferguson. 2 penalties. Alison, what do you think about Lewis Ferguson? The two of them, obviously Rangers midfield is stacked at the moment, but the two of them look like they could be at the centre of that Aberdeen midfield and possibly further for years to come.
That's exactly what I was just about to say. I think the two of them have struck up a very impressive partnership. They've combined very well. I think McRorie looks as though he's been playing there for years. He doesn't look like a kid who might have been short of confidence from not having been playing regularly at Rangers. He looks comfortable. He looks as though he belongs. He looks as though he's thriving on the role. And yeah, I'd expect good things from both of them. I'm surprised that Lewis Ferguson's still at Aberdeen. I thought there might have been a few clubs go in for him this summer, just because I think he's been very consistent over the last couple of seasons. I think he's definitely one to watch. He's young, he's exciting, and he's a really good talent. And the two of those players combined, I think Derek McInnes will be delighted with the impact that McRorie's had.
Yeah, Dave Cormack will be more secure financially, obviously, at the moment. They've just sold McKenna. That's kind of helped them with the coronavirus-related black hole that he's spoken of. So they will be able to hold on to Ferguson and McRorie, you'd expect, this window. But Alison, you say other clubs. Do you mean the big two in Scotland, or do you think it would be down to England for Ferguson?
I'd be amazed if either Celtic or Rangers hadn't taken note of what he's doing. Obviously, you look at both midfields at the minute, and they're very busy. But it would be remiss of you not to be scouting talent that's on your doorstep. But equally, I think they'll have come to the attention south of the border too. And although Aberdeen might be saying just now they don't want to sell, they don't need to sell, there's funds there from McKenna heading south of the border. The fact of the matter is that if anyone does come in and puts an offer on the table, then anyone is for sale realistically. But I think if Ferguson continues what he's been doing, you would expect that he can go and make a step up. And McRorie obviously is just getting his feet in and getting comfortable at the minute. He won't be wanting to think too much about anything other than bedding into Aberdeen. But if he sustains the form that he's in, then you have to generate interest.
Yeah, great partnership, those two. Stephen Smith says, yes, McRorie is a strange one. Big mistake by Gerrard to let him go. Leaving those two behind, Tam, 2 penalties again, both tucked away by Ferguson. Do you think they're both penalties? There's another handball. Weiger's got a red for his challenge on McRorie.
Yeah, listen, the handballs, there's a handball in the box. You know, it's a penalty kick. I thought the other one was a penalty as well. So, great performance from Aberdeen. Ross County have been going well. You know, a lot of people would maybe have fancied Aberdeen, obviously, coming back from a tough away trip during the week in Europe as well. You know, Ross County maybe pull off an upset, but Aberdeen, you know, bar the little blip against Motherwell the week before, they've been very consistent over the last 4 or 5 weeks and doing well. So, I think, is McRorie on loan to Aberdeen from Rangers and a deal's been agreed at the end of the season? That's, yeah.
So it's 400 grand, I think, at the end of the season.
Well, that could end up very, very, very cheap for Aberdeen. And Rangers might be regretting maybe just not upping that, to be honest, because 400 grand's a snip for him. They would double or treble that already with the way he's playing.
Yeah, already. I think they'd be looking at, as you say, double 800 grand's more like it. Question here from Norman Hedgley. Gabriel, do you think McInnes will still be the Aberdeen manager at the end of the season? Yes, Norman. I do. There's very frequently when a managerial role comes up down south in a championship, or we saw it back here with Rangers maybe 3 or 4 years ago before Gerrard was appointed, he gets linked away. But I think Aberdeen fans, when McInnes does leave, they won't even realise what they've got right now. McInnes, for his critics, he always gets results and he always sees Aberdeen up there. Again, they've lost in Europe in the third round, but I think he'll still be there and continue to do a solid job up at Pittodrie. They're only 2 points behind Hibs now, Tam, with 2 games in hand. Do you think the Dons will overtake them?
I hope not. But listen, I think it'll be out of Hibs and Aberdeen all season. I think they two are the standouts after the Old Firm. I think they'll be nip and tuck all season. And you know, as you said, Aberdeen, you know, now with a couple of games in hand, you know, Hibs are looking over our shoulders. But Hibs have got, as I said, Hamilton Accies and Ross County the next 2 games. So if they can go and pick up 6 points from those games, which isn't impossible, the way Hibs are playing, then you know, they keep that little gap over Aberdeen. But I think it'll definitely be out of Aberdeen and Hibs to see who finishes best of the rest.
Okay, quick word on County, Roughie. I know you are such a big fan. They stay 7th, a bad day for them. No shots on target. What do you reckon?
No, I just think they were outplayed. I think the manager was honest enough to say that they were poor. They didn't deserve anything out of the game, and I would agree 100% with him. So I think he's got a hard job this year. I think they had a great start. I remember a couple of years Hamilton had a great start as well. They were up third, top of the league, and all of a sudden they were in relegation. So he'll know the games he needs to win. The teams that are going to be down in that bottom 6. So, but he'll be disappointed with the performance.
Yeah, I think that's the message. We know the games we need to win. Moving on, Kilmarnock up to 5th. 1-0 win in Paisley against St Mirren, who slipped to bottom of the table with 5 losses on the trot. Alex Dyer was speaking to us after the game. He was delighted with the 3 points.
Good performance. Good 3 points. Boys were very good. Managed the game well. Going away with happy thoughts.
Well, what do you think about this, Alison? They've turned their form around. They won 3 of their last 4. It's an impressive job Dyer's starting to do there, isn't it?
No wonder he's having happy thoughts with stats like that. But yeah, they've found a bit of form. They look quite comfortable. They're starting to get results. But I have to say, you fear for St Mirren when you're on a run like that, when you're 5 games without a win and it feels like a slog. And I've seen a fair bit of St Mirren this season, and they're losing games by the odd goal and the odd decision. But you think when you get stuck down there at the bottom, I think it can be very hard to move yourself away from it. I think they desperately need to arrest that run of form, even if it's just picking up a point here or there. But you really don't want to be stuck in that cycle of being at the bottom. And I think psychologically it starts to affect you. It starts to play mind games with you. And we all know what happened last term when the season was curtailed early because of the virus and things were called as they stood after much contention and amid much rancour. But I think that will play in the minds of clubs and of players this season too. The fact that if you could be down there and the season's called prematurely, then you might find yourself looking prematurely at going down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they will be certainly concerned about that. And Roughie, as Alison said there, is that the real danger? The fact that they aren't losing games by much. They're not necessarily playing poorly. I saw them at home to Celtic, and they were decent enough, and I thought they are not the worst team in the division.
Yeah.
But right now, they are the bottom.
Yeah, but Alisson's bang on. You know, when you're not scoring goals up front, you're putting pressure on everybody at the back. When the people at the back are under pressure, generally you find you lose goals. And if you're in the scenario where you know if you're going to lose a goal, you're not going to win the game, and that's exactly what's happening just now. I think you would see a difference at Mirren if they were to score early. You know, the confidence would probably grow a wee bit, even more so if they could get a second goal. But as it stands just now, Alisson's right. There's the vulnerability there that is going to be there all the time until you turn it round.
Yeah, just going back to Killy, Tam, I don't know if you remember when Dyer got officially appointed, when he was after being interim, but he got full-time appointed. You kind of questioned it. You weren't sure why he'd been given it because it was a few losses, and he then got the permanent role. Do you think you jumped the gun a bit there?
Yeah, I think I did. I think obviously when he got the job, they were in a bad run, but he's obviously been doing a good job with the players. The players respect him, and I like listening to his interviews. I think he's a very chilled out character. I like listening to him. He's very calm. I think that's a great thing to have in terms of a player. You're looking at your manager, and there's no panic there. He's very, very chilled out. He's very calm and controlled, and speaks well about the game. So, listen, I actually seen Kilmarnock the first game of the season at Easter Road, and thought they were really unfortunate to lose the game, to be honest. And I was really impressed by them. Chris Burke again, he just continues to be a top player and top professional for Kilmarnock. Set up the goal. Good ball, and Kabamba has been a great find for them. You know, he's not scored a lot of goals in his career, but he's came to Kilmarnock and he's flying. He's doing well, and they've got a goal scorer there as well, and they're very solid at the back. The likes of Finlay and Broadfoot. So, no, I think Kilmarnock are going to have a good season. I think they can definitely push into that top six if they can keep everybody fit and everybody firing. And no, I like Dyer's doing well there.
Yeah, Killy's recruitment always seems to come up trumps at the moment, and yeah, as you say, Alex Dyer, one of the nicest guys in football, and also always positive, even when they get beaten. He stays upbeat and he gives confidence to his players, and it is starting to pay off. Right, 2 more games to quickly get through. A Livingston 2-0 win against St Johnstone, who will be very disappointed with that. They're off the foot of the table for the first time in a couple of weeks. We can actually have a look at the table now as we bring it up for you. So you can see that St Mirren have dropped to the bottom. The other results saw Hamilton Accies draw with Dundee United. But let's start with Livingston. Scott Tiffany scored one and created the other in a 2-minute spell at the Tony McRorie Arena. St Johnstone had 13 shots, but only 2 of them were on target. They've lost 5 out of their last 6, only beating bottom side St Mirren. So Alison, a big win for Livingston. They really needed that, didn't they, at the foot of the table?
It's a huge win, but it also just shows you how tight it is with the bottom 5, that you can get one win and really accelerate your way up the table. It's fraught down there at the minute. But to go back to St Johnstone, I've seen St Johnstone a few times already this season, and they are crying out for a striker. When you speak about not being able to score and the pressure that puts on you at the back, and as a team, I just think St Johnstone are the perfect case in point. The amount of balls last weekend that were going into the box, and just no one on the end of them, no one able to take them and convert the chances, and they lost the game to Ross County. And I think it was a similar kind of game against Livingston, where you're looking and thinking, if you can't find a goal in this team, you're going to struggle. I think I fear for St Johnstone this season. I think they could find themselves struggling down at the wrong end of the table.
I also fear for them. It's that number 9. It's the most important position. If you don't have anyone to score your goals, you will struggle, and they'll be hoping to get someone in before the window ends in a week's time. Roughie, it's just so tight down there, as Alison touched on again. Do you think it'll be tight between the bottom 6 or even bottom 8 for the whole campaign, or do you think it'll start to break up?
No, I think it will be. I think Motherwell eventually will probably hit a wee bit of form. But it's exactly what we've been saying throughout the show, is when you come up against a team that's down there, if you can get a win, it takes you out of it. If you can have in your fixture list that you've got 3 teams that you're going to be playing, week on week, that are in the bottom 6, and you can beat them. I mean, just remind me, I'm guessing here with Kilmarnock, we're talking about the three wins I've had. Who were they 3 wins against? Obviously, the weekend was the other one.
Yeah, the weekend.
Was
it was Aki's and Dundee United.
Aki's Dundee United. Well, for me, they're teams that are going to be down there. And when you come up against these teams in the fixture list, they're the ones you've got to win. Not beating Rangers and Celtic. They're bonuses in Aberdeen and Hibs. But if you string some wins together against these teams, you just see where you go. You just go up the league. But if you don't pick up any points as St Mirren are doing and St Johnstone, it's going to be a long, long season.
Yeah, and we're almost seeing a bottom 8, obviously, with the top 2. You've then got Aberdeen and Hibs, and then it seems to just be a bottom 8, That anyone, if you win 2 games, you go from 12th to 5th, and vice versa, you lose a couple. It's the games against the teams that are down there that will matter the most. Hamilton against Dundee United was one of those, and it finished honours even, 1-1. Lawrence Shanklin scoring in the 5th minute, and it was cancelled out by Hakeem Odoffin, who scored for the 3rd time this season. Real danger from set pieces. Tam, it's the first point on the road for United in over a month. Will they be happy with that, or is it the kind of game that Mickey Mellby want to win?
Yeah, I don't think they will. I think Dundee United have got, they want to be in the top 6 this season for me. I think with the players they've got, Lawrence Shanklin back in, obviously, scores again, good finish, and his all-round game. Watched the highlights on the BBC, and he looked apart. And for me, Dundee United had more chances, more opportunities than Hamilton Accies, but as we know with Hamilton Accies, they're never beaten, never dead and buried. They've got as Brian Rice keeps talking about it, the Hamilton spirit, and in Odoffin they have got they've plucked a goal-scoring centre-half from somewhere. As you said, he's 3rd game in a row, a 3rd goal of the season, and great header, great ball in, brave diving header, goes in, wants it, and scores the equaliser. So Dundee United, I think, will be frustrated that they never won the game, but Hamilton Accies away is never an easy game. Under Brian Rice, they keep going to the final minute. They keep going, and as you said, it's very, very tight down there. 1 point are separating the bottom 5. So any sort of win for any of them. St Johnstone, just to go back to them, I feel as if Callum Davison has to use his contacts. He's been down in England, with Millwall and different clubs down there, Derby County. He's got to pluck a striker out from somewhere on loan, even, and get him up the road, because I don't think there's a lot wrong with St Johnstone, apart from a goal scorer. And I think they can get themselves right up the table if they can get somebody to take the chances, because they created a lot of chances against Livy.
Mm-hmm. Danny McNamara on loan from Millwall, the fullback, he's been really impressive. And it just shows you what he can do, the kind of contact. So he'll be hoping to get someone in. Alison, just on Accies, will they be disappointed, kind of in the role reversal? Will they be looking to win those home games? Or Brian Rice talks about the Hamilton spirit, it's just not getting beat?
I think they would probably want to win their home games, but I think you always have to be pleased. If you're looking at taking nothing and you come back into the game and get a point, I think you've got to be fairly satisfied with that, especially when it's late on. But Hamilton are just these perennial survivors, aren't they? They just eke it out and pick up points at times when you don't expect them to. They've got a great camaraderie. It's a small squad, but you can sense that there is a bit of fight about them. There's an appetite for staying in the league. They know what's expected, and they also know what it takes to cope with the mental pressures of being at the wrong end of the table throughout the campaign and somehow finding a way to stay up. I think we would all expect that they're maybe embroiled in that fight again at the end of the campaign, that they'll be there or thereabouts towards the end of the season, but they do have something about them.
Yeah, I can promise you now, Hamilton will not go down one way or another. By hook or by crook, Hamilton will be in the Premiership again next season. Maybe it's because of Hakeem Odoffin, who keeps scoring. They never get relegated, Tam. It's almost a guarantee. Right, Hakeem Odoffin, he's in Team of the Week after his 3rd goal of the season. Have a look at the 10 other players who join him.
Oh, here we go.
Goal. James Tavernier expertly dispatched 2 penalties to give his side victory. Kirk Broadfoot commanded the backline to ensure an away clean sheet for Killy. Hakeem Odoffin is in for the 3rd time already this season. He was solid defensively and scored again. Johnny Hayes fits in perfectly as a wing-back and set up the Dons' crucial opener. Jeremy Frimpong is back to his best and has been man of the match in the last 2 games. Lewis Ferguson is Aberdeen's rock in the middle, and his 2 penalties took his tally to 5 this season. Callum McGregor is another goal-scoring midfielder, striking another beauty to get Celtic on their way. Jordan Jones came in from the cold and showed what he can do with his blistering run and finish. Scott Tiffany scored one and created another in a crazy 2-minute spell for Livy. Cedric Eaton only played 22 minutes but staked his claim for a starting berth with a cracking strike and a tap-in. Right, that's the first time I've presented the show on Monday for a while, so I'm here to answer any criticisms. Tam, what have you got to say?
No, I'll tell you what, for the first time ever, I would tend to agree with your team. Because you are going for a shock jock most weeks. You're putting people in there who should never been there, but I'll give you it this week.
Oh, you're at it. Right, okay. There was a few comments on Jeremy Frimpong playing right midfield in a 4-4-2. Just to clear that up, he was playing right wing-back in an attacking formation, so that's why he's in right midfield. Any other criticism, any other praise for my choices this week, Alison, Roughie?
No,
I think it's a fair team.
Yeah, I'd have probably had McRorie in there.
Okay, McRorie in there. I'll note that one down, Roughie. Maybe he'll get in next week. Thank you for that. Okay, we've got a little bit more to get through before we go. The Scottish Cup semi-finals of last season have finally been announced. It will be Hibs versus Hearts on Halloween, 5 o'clock kickoff at Handon Park before Aberdeen versus Celtic at 2:30 on Sunday the 1st of November. Tam, I presume you'll be doing the game at Hampden. I want to get your thoughts on that. Should these games be going ahead? Should they be happening now without fans? They initially wanted to wait for fans because the 3 games, the 2 semis and the final, were expected to bring in a £3 million windfall to the SFA. Obviously, that's not going to happen now. So, Tam, is it the right call?
Yeah, I think it's the right call for the games to go ahead. What I don't understand is I'm looking at it, Hibs and Hearts, could that not be played at Murrayfield with maybe 10, 15,000 there? And can the other semi-final not be played at Hampden a day later with, again, 10, 15,000 in the stadium? I don't understand why we can't do that. We can't safely get people in and out and get fans into the games. So, as I said, you can go to the bar, you can go to a pub, you know, you can go on the train and go to games and go to the pub and watch games on the TV, but you can't sit outside in a safe environment and watch a game of football. So I don't understand that. I feel as if something's got to be done in terms of trying to get fans back in. That would have been the perfect showpiece for us to try and get some supporters back in. But in terms of the games, Hibs, Hearts, listen, I think Hibs have got to be huge favourites because Hearts have not kicked the ball yet. And it's as simple as that. You know, they've not kicked the ball. They might not even have started the league campaign by then. By the time they go into a semi-final. So I think it's a huge advantage for Hibs and it could end up a horror show for the Jambos.
A horror show for the Jambos? You're calling that already?
Well, it is Halloween, so I think that could be a gruesome...
Very good. Very good. Hey,
listen, I think
maybe...
Hibs are big favourites. I mean, I don't... Hibs are big favourites. Just the way they're playing it and the way they've have 10 or 11 games under their belts and Hearts have no played any. So I think from a Hearts point of view, you know, it's a very difficult game for them to go into.
Mm-hmm. One player that might be playing for them by then is Andy Halliday, the former Rangers midfielder, is apparently close to agreeing a 1-year deal with an incentive of another deal if they do get promotion back to the Premiership, as they will be hoping. The 28-year-old can certainly offer a lot to that midfield, can't he, Alison?
I think it'd be an excellent signing for Hearts. I think he's more than capable of getting in there and doing a job. He can break up plays, got a bit of something about him. I think he could definitely go in and make an impact. And I think if you look at the squad that Hearts have got ahead of these League Cup games kicking off this month coming up, then I think you'd fancy them to come back up again. But I think Halliday would be a good signing for them. I think he's a fairly robust addition to that midfield.
Yeah, Roughie, would you expect him just to come straight in and play midfield, or will we see him at left back?
Tynecastle. I agree with Tam. I don't see any reason why you can't get supporters into that stadium. It's a wonderful stadium. These top clubs are all geared up, you know, for COVID, you know, if spectators were to come in, you know. So I think somebody has to seriously have a look at it sooner rather than later. I think we all know that certain clubs could take some supporters in there. I was impressed with Hearts at the weekend. Thought Jamie Walker was back to his best. Naisy only come on the second half. Liam Boyce was particularly good, and Craig Whiten, who looks like a completely different player for the last time he was there. He was up at Arbroath last year. He was superb. And Craig Gordon, although he didn't have a lot to do, was confident in everything he'd done. But you know what? I think I agree with Tam that I think they need competitive games. They need bounce games are okay to get through the emotions, but I think Hibs have just got that wee bit advantage over them. But I think they've got more Hearts have got more games coming up. So yeah, derby games are, you never know how they're going to go. But I would agree with Tam. I think Hibs have just got that wee slight advantage. But I will be telling Naisy that it's going to be a nightmare for them on Wednesday, according to Tam.
Okay. Yeah, a nightmare. all the Halloween jokes are still to come, I'm sure. Just to confirm, Andy Halliday has been announced as a Hearts player, so he will be hoping to feature in that fixture. Just wanted to get your two thoughts on. It seems that Tam has dropped out. Somehow, must have Hearts fans have got to him somehow after his comments. Right, the comments. Sorry, the idea that the Spanish FA are doing is that they're waiting and they're holding their cup final. So it's Athletic Bilbao versus Real Sociedad, an all-Basque cup final, the first time in years in the Copa del Rey, and they're going to hold it. And the current plans are to play it the week before this year's Spanish cup final, in a cup final week. And the hope is as well, by the end of May 2021, there'll be more fans in it. What do you think about that? Is that something the SFA could look into?
I think it's a good idea, and you can see the merit in it. I think that the problem is that we just have no inkling when we're going to get to a point where fans are going to be allowed back in. I think I agree with the points made. I understand that there are fears around football and travelling to games or on public transport and people congregating in small clusters as you travel in and out of stadiums, but I think it would be sensible to bring in small numbers to open the whole stadium, but bring in people and fans through every gate, so you can stagger entrances in terms of times, that you're not having a push of people trying to get into isolated gates. If you try to bring people in maybe an hour and a half before kickoff, even if you had an allocated time when you had to be at the stadium for and go in, I think it'd be a sensible way to do it. I understand why the Spanish FOE are doing what they're doing. You can see the merit in it. It makes sense that when you peer further down the line, we're all optimistic, but by that point there's some resemblance to life as we knew it. But the issue is, I just don't think there is any guarantee that will be there by that point in time. And I think what we have to try and do now is accommodate some form of life where we live with the threat of the virus, and do it as sensibly as we possibly can.
Yeah, I do think that they will look at it. They haven't confirmed yet that there will be no fans. Obviously, the First Minister's guidance changes every 3 weeks. So perhaps after the international break, we could see some fans introduced to Premiership games or lower league games. And then by Halloween, they'll be able to introduce more. But we will just have to wait and see how the virus develops and what the government guidelines are. Just before we go, quick word on the English Premier League. Celtic fans' favourite Brendan Rodgers leading his side to a 5-2 victory at the Etihad Stadium, the biggest ever defeat for Pep Guardiola in a home match. 5-2, Jamie Vardy with a hat-trick. Fantastic win for them. Alison, Rodgers, he came under a little bit of fire when football came back in lockdown, because Leicester did slip from third all the way down to fifth, but he's won 3 in a row and he clearly knows what he's doing.
I thought they were excellent yesterday. I really did, and I thought he deserved a lot of plaudits for how he set Leicester up and how they played. And there was a few comments in the aftermath of that game that raised a few eyebrows, because I thought Leicester were very comfortable winners, and he does impress. I don't think there is any doubt about the coaching credentials of Brendan Rodgers. I think he's an outstanding coach. And I think even Celtic fans who are still smarting about the manner of his exit and the timing of it would certainly give him that.
Yeah, his team were fantastic yesterday. And Vardy's second goal, I don't know if you saw it, Roughie, did you? I think it was called a Cruyff chip or something. That's what they went for, but it was magic.
Yeah, I can't believe that none of the top clubs have went for him. and I would regard obviously Leicester as not one of the biggest clubs in England, but you would have thought that the biggest clubs have identified a goal scorer, and he scores goals. You can't take it away from him. He's got a fair turn of pace as well, and I'm sure some of the top teams should just bite the bullet and go for somebody like him, because he'll score goals in any team.
Yeah, I think maybe too late now. He did turn down Arsenal back in 2016. He met face-to-face with Brendan Rodgers. But Vardy, Leicester legend for sure. Okay, just before we go, Liverpool versus Arsenal tonight. Quick predictions from the two of you. Alison first.
I think I'll go for Liverpool 2-1.
Roughie?
I'll go Liverpool 2-0.
And I'm going 1-0 to the mighty Arsenal. Let's have a look tomorrow and see if any of us are correct. Thank you very much for all of your comments today. Entertaining as always. A pleasure to sit in for Peter, who will be back tomorrow, so don't worry too much. Once again, thank you very much for watching, and don't forget you can like, share and subscribe to our channels on Facebook, Twitter and YouTube. But from all of us here, for now, bye-bye.
Expect the best used car deals guaranteed. Visit arnoldclark.com.